let's start by draining the oil. 14 millimeter wrench or socket, whatever you have. Loosen this up. And let's drain the oil. Let it drain for a few minutes. And it doesn't have to be 100% out, just most of it. That way when you take the pan down, it doesn't splash down on you. There's always some left, but the more you drain out, the better it is for when you remove the pan. Go ahead and plug the oil pan back up. This is good enough. The rest will just come out when you remove the pan. And I'm just going to snug it up. That way it doesn't drip on me while I try to remove it. All right, I'm going to wipe off this. And now with a 10 millimeter, I'm going to go around and remove all the bolts that hold this oil pan onto the engine. Be careful with these because a lot of times they break, and if you can avoid that, well, that's better. Now that all the fasteners are off, there are two nuts, one on this corner, one on this corner, and the rest are bolts. With all those off, you want to take a pry bar and just pry down wherever you can. I'm going right here, and as you can see, this is slowly peeling off the old sealant, and the oil pan is slowly coming off. And now that I've pried it down a little bit, I'm going to take my slightly smaller pry bar and just hammer it in there. If you can avoid this, try to, because it's not the best thing to do to hammer into the aluminum block, but if you have to, just be gentle. There we go. There it is. Be careful, there's still oil in it, so once you have it off, go ahead and drain the rest. Then you can recycle this one. We'll clean up the surface and install the new one. Now with a razor blade, I'm going to clean off the remaining gasket that is here. If you have a gasket scraper, that works too. You just want to be careful because this is actually aluminum, so anything that is very rough, like a wire wheel on a drill or something like that, can potentially dig into the surface, and you want a nice flat surface for your new oil pan to seal up against. If it's not flat, it's going to leak. Now with a rag with some parts cleaner on it, I'm going to wipe off the surface and degrease it and make sure it's ready for the new gasket. Before I apply the gasket maker, you can see I got some fingerprints on here, so I'm just going to take some brake parts cleaner, degrease the surface. If there's oil on the surface, the silicone might not stick, and then you'll have a leak right off the bat, and that's no good. So clean off the surface. We'll take some silicone, some gasket maker, and you just want to run a thin bead right in the middle there, and when you go around the holes where the bolts go on the inside, not on the outside. And you just want to go around the whole pan, make a nice uniform bead. If you have to stop and fix things, that's fine. Just make sure that you link the two ends together, so like if you stop and it interrupts the bead, obviously don't start over here. Make sure the two ends meet. I'm going to go back with my finger and just make sure that it's even everywhere. There are some areas where I got it a little too thick, and then some areas that could use a little more, so I'm just going to spread it out evenly. One last time, I'm going to wipe the surface down with some brake parts cleaner and a clean rag to make sure that there's no oil here. Go all the way around. It's important that you have a dry, clean surface. All right, let's get the oil pan. Make sure you don't smear the gasket too much, so try to slide it up into place. Line it up with the two studs that are still there. There's one, that one came through, and where's my other one? There we go, other one came through as well. I'm just going to start two random bolts, one on the back, one on the front. That way it can be held in place. Once it's held in place by these two bolts, I'm going to start in all the other ones, and then we'll get them all tightened down. Now I'm not tightening these, I'm just getting them close to being bottomed out. I want to let the silicone sit for a few minutes before I fully tighten it. So the torque for all these is 71 inch-pounds, not foot-pounds, inch-pounds. That converts to about 6 foot-pounds. If you don't have a torque wrench that can go that low, basically just make it snug. So I'm going to go to 6 foot-pounds on all of them, going around, and then I'll go around another time because as you tighten these last few, the gasket, the silicone compresses and it loosens these ones up. All right, I'm going to go around one more time. Before we add oil, always double check this drain bolt when installing a new pan. You never know when it's loose, so always double check your drain bolt. You don't want oil to come dripping out of here as soon as you put fresh oil in, and obviously you don't want to lose your oil while you're driving. So before adding oil, I just wanted to mention that it's a great idea to replace your oil filter. That way you also do a full oil change at the same time. Oil filter is located underneath the manifold. Unscrew the old one, put the new one in, and then let's fill the oil. Remove your oil filler cap and put in 5 quarts of 5W30.